Good morning, Panther fans. So, as I normally have, I have Billy Lindsay right here, and Stu has Billy Lindsay.
You stole my thunder, you dodo.
What do you want from me, man? You know how tired I.
You got to
Hey,
stick to the script, man.
the script was wing
And
it.
the
That was
script
the
was,
script.
hey, good morning, everybody.
Besides,
Here's
us
Stu.
us bitching it back and forth at each other is better than anything we had planned anyway.
Yeah, that's the stuff you guys should film.
I mean, I told them 5 minutes before we got, but
You
whatever.
told me to pick up Billy when
No,
I
no, no.
watched
I
you.
told you when I give you the cue. So now you
Oh,
ruined it. I'll do it anyway.
do
You
it.
know, Flying Fluffy Hockey, the number one Panther podcast in the world,
I'm
always
up till
brings you. There's
two in the
always
morning.
something. But anyway, we're really fortunate. We're very grateful that Bill Lindsay at 8 o'clock in the morning is under the weather, not feeling good, but he's on here.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, let's welcome Billy Lindsay bobblehead. But anyway,
Yeah.
hey Billy, how many people remember when those were out? I do.
Yeah, no, not sure how many would remember now. It's been a minute. They've
I
come a
mean, look at
long.
that. Look at that. That didn't even look like you.
Yeah, I know they've come a long way, haven't they? They're a
I
lot.
Yep.
know, but
Like,
the jersey is sweet though, man.
yeah,
But
that's about
that is a collector's item.
that's about all they got right was the jersey.
Billy's got a Bill. Listen, guys, Billy's got a case of them in his garage, and for $500, he'll sign it for you.
I do
Is
got a
that?
case of them laying around somewhere, actually.
Yeah.
The
You're
players,
not selling them on eBay, are you? Because that's where I
No,
got mine.
hasn't gotten to that point yet.
Hasn't gotten to that. I hope
Billy,
not.
the players, retired players, keep like their cards, their trading cards.
Some of them I have. I got a. I wasn't a big memorabilia guy. I should have kept more along the way. I have certain stuff. I have cards laying around. I could probably dig through and find pretty much all my cards that I
Yeah.
have. They're in a storage bin and just a bin and paper articles and certain stuff. I didn't have as much stuff when I'm looking back now when I'm retired that I said, geez, I sure wish maybe that I had that or done that. When you're
Yeah.
going through it, it's just happening so fast. And I was just one of those people, just move on to the next thing. Let's go. What happens next? So I do have some collectibles, but not near as much as
Yeah.
probably I would like to have.
You
Whatever
know what I'd
happened to
like
the
to
puck
have?
with the goal?
I'd like to
The
have
goal,
the puck of the
yeah,
goal.
the
Yeah, yeah,
puck, the puck, the
yeah.
Yep.
stick, all that stuff. I never that game. The puck, the stick. Don't know. Someone actually said they had a stick that I'd scored that goal with sometime or gotten hold of.
I never got a stick from you. I got a Beezer stick. I don't know. I got a Jovo stick.
You can tell
But
it's early. Stu's
I
complaining.
if you remember, the Marlins and the Panthers, their inaugural years were the same. And I remember going to opening day with the Marlins, Charlie Huff, and I bought a whole shitload of memorabilia. And then the first game with the Panthers, Pittsburgh, I bought a whole shit of, and I had them in a box. The stupid thing I did was mark a memorabilia because when I moved, that carton disappeared.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm talking, this is '93 now, over $1,000 worth of stuff. Beautiful
yeah,
crystal, that crystal stick with the puck.
yeah.
That was a limited edition. Anyway,
Anyway,
so
well, it's better than
Eric and I
talking about the
usually
game.
do the morning after a game. We do the review. It's just coincidence that you're on. So we're gonna shut up and we're gonna ask for your assessment for the last two games, but primarily last night. Take it away.
What would be the best way? Uninspired. The emotions aren't where they need to be. You see a team that's some guys are trying, other guys are not pulling on the rope in the same direction. It seems fractured throughout the lineup. The biggest compliment that I could give this team before the last couple of games is consistency with their work ethic. It hadn't wavered very much. They every night that they showed up to play, outside of a couple of games this year, they'd given themselves a chance to win, and they really hadn't beaten themselves. Going back into that Seattle game, I chalked it up as maybe one of those nights that those legs aren't there. You go into Vancouver, you get the same kind of repeat performance. And those are games where I know Vancouver played well. I look at games in kind of two separate ways when you lose. Did the other team just come out and flat out beat you and they were better? Or did a lot of what happened with the other team winning result in what you inflicted upon yourselves and you beat yourselves? And those are the worst kind of losses. And I would
Yep.
I would go back the last couple of games that those are self-inflicted losses where you gave the other team a pretty easy path to victory. Now, that being said, if I look back over the first 25 games, there was maybe 2 in there that I could put into that category. Now you get back to backs that happens. You're up to 4 in about 26 games. It's going to happen 15 times to me throughout the course of the year where you don't have it. There's going to be 0 legs. The mind's not going to be engaged. It just, in the NHL in 82 games, there are going to be nights where it just is not going to fall your way. That's happened for the Panthers a couple times. It's a little alarming, but if you keep that number around 15, and you're going to lose 10 of those games flat out, and somehow you'll find a way to win 5 of those games when you don't feel.
Yeah.
If you'll find a way to scrape out some wins, but if you can keep that number around 10 to 15, you're going to be all right. And so far this season, that would put it at about 4 or 5 for me, effort wise, that I didn't like the effort. Goal scoring is becoming worrisome when you get shut out in back-to-back nights. There's some pause for concern there, but that comes down to crisp effort and move on. It's been a tough one. You got a couple of tough ones left in Calgary and Edmonton, but you would just like to see the consistency with the work ethic that they had in those first 25 games or so get ramped back up, and everyone kind of pulling on the rope in the same direction, working for each other on the same page. That's what's been missing.
I call it the Jekyll and Hyde syndrome. So here's my question, and I'm getting this from other fans as well. Since Montour and Ekblad are back, this has been a different team. We always talk about chemistry and whatnot. In your honest opinion, and you might say it's got nothing to do with it, but we're obviously noticing something's off since they're back.
Yeah, but the biggest thing that's off is trying to get Montour and Ekblad back up to speed,
Right.
into game action. Montour, what he did last year, such high expectations, that 70-plus point season. He's trying to do what he did last year. It's just not materializing, and that's going to take some time to get back. And kind of everything was going right, and he found that offensive groove. It will happen. I did look, though. The Panthers, when they had Mikkola and Kulikov and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and there was no Montour and there was no Ekblad in the lineup, they were 27th in the NHL in odd man rushes 4 per game. And Paul Maurice, I talked to him about it and said early on, it's a struggle to get out of our own end, and it's going to be that way until Montour and Ekblad get back and we have the ability to push the puck. I was tracking that stat for odd man rushes just to see, and I'm not sure what it was going into last night's game, but the first 9 or 10 games that they played, they went from 27th in the NHL to 18th in the NHL in odd man rushes 4.
Right.
So you can see their ability to start transition, start rush. The identity of this team is a heavy forecheck, cycle play, hang on to the puck, rebounds, screens, but they were getting nothing off the rush early on. Nothing. So that has to come back. And I do keep everything into a big picture throughout 82 games. We're at where we're at right at this moment. I'd much rather be where we're at now than we were at where we were at last year.
Yeah.
This is good point.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's tough to play catch up. At least you're in the front this year.
Right. Yeah, the thing for that I think noticed happened, whatever, is that with Ekblad and Montour back, and I'm not suggesting that we go back to this, but Larson and Mikula were playing those roles somewhat, and they were scoring goals. It was working for them. So
Yeah.
now Ekblad and Montour are in those roles. Larson and Mikula have kind of taken a back seat, and the goals aren't coming from Ekblad and Montour. And so what little bit of scoring we were getting from the D is now dried up. And then the other thing is we have a thing, because Kyle and I, my son and I, stream every game, and I want to get your opinion on this. We've got a thing where I say if I had $1 for every time there's a puck loose in the front and we can't get to it. I mean, it just seems like last year every bounce was going right on Kachuk or Verhaeghe's stick. And this year it's almost like it's the guy with the remote control moving the puck away from our guys. Is that my imagination, or what have you seen from?
Partially, we're so because of that style we play, with a lot of the stuff with the shots coming from the defenseman, we're number one in the NHL in screens. So we get more bodies to the net with shots with screens in front than anybody in the NHL. We are second, if you dig through the analytics, second or third in the NHL in second rebound chances. We get a lot of chances from the outside. We get screens in front. We get to rebounds. We're one of the best teams. They track loose puck recoveries, and these are all I get all the analytics directly from what all the teams are getting themselves.
Right.
So I know exactly what all the analytics are telling every NHL team, and for our team, you get a lot of that. The shots from the outside, you get a lot of screens, you get a lot of second rebound opportunities. So you're good at getting second chances. You're one of the top teams. You score a lot of goals that way, and you're also decent at loose puck. You're top 5 in loose puck recoveries. So that speaks to Paul Maurice's system and identity. It might just be the volume that you see because
Right.
there's such a mass volume. The one area that maybe that you want to try and get to is trying to get into this inner slot more, to create the scoring chances, those grade A scoring chances in the inner slot area when they're working it off that cycle play. Maybe that they have to create more. And I talked about the odd man rush chances but still, those odd man rushes, when they get them, they are having a real difficult time generating chances off those rushes. So even though you are getting some odd man rushes for, it's about creating some chances off the rush. That's where the goal scoring is going to come in, and the power play. The power play
Right.
has
Yeah.
to it has to produce. It doesn't have to be great. I was talking about that when the penalty killing was disastrous about 15 games ago. If it could get up to around 15, 10 or 15 in the league, the team's going to be fine. Well, the penalty killings got there. I thought the power play for sure would end up getting into that mark, and that hasn't happened. It's languishing down there into the mid 20s on the power play. So if you talk about Ekman Larson, whatever, that has to change. You got to find a way to score power play goals. But have been teams. The Penguins just finished a calendar month without a power play goal before getting one.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to, with this goal scoring, you got to be able to get to that inner slot area better, and you have to score some power play goals.
Right.
You know what I've been noticing that, like last night, it seemed, well, it didn't seem. Vancouver was swarming over us. Like as soon as we touched the puck, it was at least one, maybe two guys on us, and we couldn't. There was no flow. That's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed in the recent, at least the last 2 games. There hasn't been any flow. When we're flowing and we go wave after wave, eventually we're putting the puck in the net. And last night it was like Goldie said, it was one and done.
Sustained offensive zone pressure, the forechecking pressure, that was missing. And that's when you know this team is not at their best.
Yeah.
When you don't have those 30-second shifts, those momentum, even if you don't score, those momentum changing shifts where you go down 45 seconds, get the next line out there, you get the other team running around, put pressure on them.
Right.
That has been lacking, and that Seattle game, throw that out, toss that away. Vancouver, news alert, if anyone hasn't watched them, are really good. Really, really good.
Yep.
Under the radar. So that's
Yeah.
a team that you're going against. If you're kind of half-assing it against the Vancouver Canucks, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Because Rick Tocchet's changed their style to dump and chase. They are going to dump it out. They're going to hit, be physical, and they have a litany of players that can score. You look at the scoring charts. Quinn Hughes on the defense. You got Miller. You got Pedersen. You got Besser. You just keep going down. You keep going down that lineup. Hoglander, McKay. Everyone seems to chip in on that team, and they work their tails off. And the goaltender Thatcher Demko this year,
Yeah.
he was the missing piece. He's been hurt, kind of injured. Yeah, and then now you got Zadorov on your back line that's going to come into that lineup. Quinn Hughes, Tyler Myers is 6'8".
Yep.
It's an interesting group, but it's the Vancouver Canucks. After what happened last year, this year, Rick Tocchet, they're a legitimate. They're going to finish in the top 3 in the Pacific.
Right.
Yep.
There isn't going to be a question about it. So you ran into a buzzsaw on home ice last night, and if you're not at your absolutely very, very best against a team like that, you're not going to win.
I said that after the Seattle game, after the review for that. I said, Vancouver and Edmonton. I mean, we should beat Calgary. You know, but
Yeah.
Edmonton lost to the Lightning last night. They had won 9 in a row.
Oh, uh-oh.
We
We
lost.
lost Billy. Here he comes. Oh, God. Okay, you're back.
Okay.
So I want to ask you 2 questions. One question about 2 guys. It's the same question. And just tell me what you think, what you've noticed, because especially with Kachuk, a lot of the fan base is concerned about that sternum from last year. So between Kachuk and Lundell, I'm being hyperbolic, but combined, I'm not sure they're on pace for 20 goals. That's an exaggeration, but it's not that big of an exaggeration.
No.
So just give us your opinion on both guys, please, because if I had hair, I'd be losing my hair.
Yeah, Kachuk is. You look at the 5 goals, he's got around almost 110 shots on net. So I kind of put that into perspective. If you had a game and you had 110 shots on net, and now you said in that game all the shots would come from a forward, and then you said those 110 shots would come from the superstar forward on the other team.
Right.
It would be one of the best goaltending performances in the history of hockey.
Yeah.
If you had a 110 shot night and only scored 5 goals, and it was the superstar that got all 110 of those shots, it's going to go in the other direction at some point for Kachuk. There does seem to be I'm not sure if it's maybe that jump or that quickness that he had last year doesn't seem to be as explosive. He's always in front of the net, around the net, but it'll turn. These superstars at the end of 82 games, Kachuk might drop down from that 100-point mark to 85, 90, but I still firmly believe as he gets into that 30 goal range and 90-point mark, he'll go on a heater, he'll go on a tear here. It's what those
Right.
Those kind of players just always at the end of the year find their numbers. It's amazing. Even after
He's still making plays. He's still setting
Yeah.
people up.
Well, look at McDavid. McDavid was a point a game or under a point a game for the first 13, 14 games, and now he's got 30 points in 12 games or whatever it is. It's just ridiculous. But
Right.
Kachuk will go on one of those heaters at one point. He's got that belief going. He will get there. On that flip side of it, Lundell, to me, he's shown glimpses of just brilliance. And you're wondering, where's this at? Why can't it be all the time? Because sometimes it's just awesome, and he just kind of jumps right out at you, and he's noticeable. When he's not noticeable is when he's not engaged down deep in the corners. He's not skating. He's kind of shying away from contact. When he's initiating contact, being the aggressor, then it seems to to work for Lundell. The only problem is it's a sometime thing, and this is an all-time league.
Yeah.
If you want success, you can't do something some of the time. You got to be able to do it all of the time, and that's where I'm at with Lundell over the last couple of years. It's tantalizing, leaves you wanting more, because you know the ability is inside. So he's got to find a way to drag it out of himself. And if he's only in his third year, and
Right.
he does show glimpses of what he can be, but the further we get down this runway, the further that we go down, the more you have to start to explore. Is this what we're going to get from Lundell all the time, or is he able going to turn a corner? To me, the next 20 games, especially, and then the second half of the season, are huge for Lundell. They're huge for the team, but they're huge for him professionally and personally. He's one of those guys that's a UFA at
Yeah.
the end of the year, and if the Panthers want to make a decision on him and how much they want to pay him or what they want to do with Lundell at the end of the year, he has to show something. One, that he wants to stay here and belongs here, and that he can fit in here, and how much dollar value is he going to be worth at the end of the year? That's up to him.
That's a good segue because Eric and I, we've had this conversation many, many times. The pickle that Zito is in at the end of the year with
Forsling,
Montour, Reinhardt. Obviously,
yeah.
not enough money to go around now.
And Lundell's going to get
And
a bump.
Lundell.
Right.
So, just from it's nothing personal, it's business. And obviously, no one is excluded from the list of players that Zito can trade. We saw that with Huberdeau. You got a guy making $7.5 million that's been hurt a lot, that's really not contributing. And I'm wondering if it's time, and I don't know as far as his no move clause where that's at, but I say trade Ekblad, get something for him, and save yourself $7.5 million to give to these. We got to sign Reinhardt. We got to sign Forsling.
Well, you know where the no movement is on that contract. It's for the entire length of the contract.
Okay, so that ends that. Eric thought it was modified.
I think it gets modified here at the end.
Well, we're still a ways from the end, though. We're
one more year.
One more year on Ekblad's 8-year deal.
Yeah, after this season, his modified no move clause kicks in.
No, after this season modified.
Yeah,
but he's still locked in this year. So it comes
this
down
year,
into
yeah.
We're talking about it, in the summer. What do you think about that? Just from a
I don't know. You'd have to explore. It depends on Bill Zito and all what they're thinking, and it's gonna, if he stays healthy so he missed 25. If he plays 60 games healthy and then becomes an impact player that we've seen in the past, then your whole mindset on Ekblad could change throughout the course of this year. You have to watch and play out, and then you evaluate at the end of the year, to me, because he has been injured. That's a wait and see. It's a possibility. They're all possibilities. I'm not going to live in Bill Zito's world. I don't do well there. Trying to figure out who's going to. He does a lot better at it than I do myself. If you want to clear out some room, maybe that's a player that you look at. But for me, I'm looking at the roster, the people that are here now. I'll let Zito figure out Reinhardt, Montour, all those guys when it's his time to do that. For me, I'm worried about Calgary coming up, and then I'm going to go from there and worry about the Edmonton Oilers. The GM's in a place for a reason, and he's done a pretty good job up to this point. You got to give him credit. So let's put some trust in Bill that he knows that he has a game plan, that he's going to stick to it. And again, as alarming as these last two games are, it's 82 games and 96 with about 15 games left in the season. We went 0-8 and lost and lost an over or tied one. So we 9 games without a victory. Everyone was just going ballistic. If you stay where you're at now and you're in a playoff position at the end of the year, once you drop the puck in the playoffs, everything changes. Everything. We
Right.
saw that last year.
True.
Once that puck hits the ice, so just get in. It's okay. These are okay. These ebbs and flows. As long as you learn from them, I'm fine. Being shut out a couple of times, not ideal. Is it going to hurt you in the long run if you go 10-5 over the next 15 games? Absolutely not. Um, so it's they're a couple of bad games. At 82 on the road, I'm telling you, you as a player, or some nights you feel so bad on that ice, you're wondering what the heck I'm doing out here. You have jello legs, you can't complete a pass, and sometimes it's like that for the whole team. And that seems to be a bit of a funk for the Panthers. The big game to pay attention to if you get a victory against Calgary is Edmonton, because that's going to be in a national spotlight, a national stage, one game that you should be able to get up for, get ramped up for. That's if you want to evaluate this team on this particular road trip, watch the Edmonton game and how they perform. If they perform hard and play well in that game, then everything's going to be all right. If they're not up and not ready to play for the Edmonton Oilers, now you might have some concern for what's happening in the future for the Panthers.
Okay.
Well, don't you think they should have been up for last night? I mean, what does Maurice say to the guys now, either on the plane ride or before? What does he say to them after these 2 awful performances?
Yeah, you walk into the room and you tell them it's got to be better. It's as a coach, you would sit down with probably individual players and tell them exactly what you're seeing in their game and ask them what you're seeing and demand a little bit more from them. And you players like it when coaches are up front and tell you what they're expecting and what they need from you. So I would expect Paul Maurice to have some directional conversation with some players and be pretty blunt about it and pretty vocal. As an athlete in professional sports, you're paid to do a job.
Right.
So it's upon you. If you can't get yourself up and you can't get yourself ready, then you're in the wrong line of work. A coach is out there for your X's and O's and your systems, and if they're not executing that, that's where you go into the tape. You show the guys, I need you to be here. I need this. And then it's up for you to respond. As far as the raw stuff, the yelling at you, that doesn't work much. There might be times and places for it, occasionally, very very occasionally. But after a game at 4-0, I coaches wouldn't even, in my time, I'm sure it's still the same. After 4-0, they wouldn't even walk in the locker room after a game like that. They're gonna wait until they calm down, until they watch the tape, and then they're going to address you the next day at practice. That's when they're going to address you. So I doubt Paul Maurice said anything after the game or the last couple of games. I believe that he sat on the plane and watched all the video and would address the guys. Because if you go in there on a tirade and the guys understand, okay, yeah, we suck tonight. They know it. I'm making $5 million. I know I suck tonight. I know I got to be better. And if you don't have the personality that I'm going to come out the next game and perform, and you're making that kind of money, or you're being paid as a professional, you're in the wrong business. In junior and college hockey, they tell you to jump, and you just say how high. When you're in the NHL, they tell you to jump. Players ask why. That's what the answer to the coach is. We understand. We're getting paid to do a job now. We are getting paid. We understand our responsibilities, and if you don't understand those responsibilities, you're not going to last long as a pro. That's just pretty much the bottom line. So Paul Maurice has established an identity with this team. Evaluate the tape, go about it the business, and try and get a little bit more out of this group, and have some face-to-face conversations. Probably work the best. Just sit guys down and get their personal opinion, what they're seeing, and say, listen, this is what I'm seeing. I need a little bit more out of you. And that's always what worked best with myself.
So, last thing I got, it's a little bit it's on topic, but it's switching gears. I get this question all day, every day. Because we don't really hear much, and there's nothing much that we know other than looking at his stats. Have you heard anything about the team's opinion of how Spencer Knight is doing, and what do you expect from that situation? Or is it just because our point of view, Stu and I think we both kind of agree. As long as Stolarz is doing well, let Knight continue to play games. Um, but at some point, I mean, Bob has found the fountain of youth. So I mean, Spencer Knight may never get a shot here.
Yeah.
The way Bob is playing, he's going the opposite direction. So just give us your thoughts.
For one, I hope Spencer Knight's healthy, that he's doing well. He needed to play games, be a number one because he sat out all that time, missed all that time. So that's a good move off the bat. You get Stolarz at a really good cheap contract. He's a complimentary backup. Bobrovsky is still firmly planted as your number one goaltender, and Spencer Knight, if you do bring him up, now you're in a I heard that word pickle. Well, you're in a pickle because that's instead of 1 million, you have 4 million
Right
on your roster. That's another $3 million that you have to move around.
Yep.
So when it becomes Spencer Knight's time, you are going to have to jump through some hoops, salary cap wise. So Spencer Knight, to me, if he is doing and they expect him, he's on track to get back to the NHL. That would, to me, be somewhere maybe at the trade deadline where they trade some players and work around something where they get Spencer Knight. Other than that, I would see him spending a whole year in the American Hockey League just trying to develop his game and get better, and worry about the future and where it's going to be at then.
Yeah, it's such an odd case. You know what I mean? It's like the way it
Yes.
started out. You know, he's coming in and it's the playoffs and he wins us a game and just, I mean,
He's
there
a
was
phenom.
yeah, there's like at least twice that Stu and I were like, well, that's it, because Bob was playing so poorly, and Spencer Knight would come in and have these 5 or 6 game runs, and we're like, okay, that's it, right? The torch has been passed, and now it's like, yeah, no, it's just it's an odd one that I think everybody just hopes like exactly what you said. You know what? Just the best thing for him right now is just kind of just stay down there, play games, so he doesn't have that question mark. Because that's the other thing. Because it's just like even if he comes up, it's like, well, when is he going to play? When is he
He's
going to
going to
play?
sit. And
Right.
that's not
Yeah.
good. He's
And
so young. Just look, we got rid of Markstrom, right? We a year or two, and look what some players blossom later than others. I would
Yeah.
think, especially goalies.
Yeah,
So,
it takes time. And teams want goalies all the time too. Never forget that. So
Yeah. Yeah. You can't just find an Aiden Hill and win a Stanley Cup. Or
Yeah.
maybe you can, I guess. I suppose you can, right?
Yeah,
I
you
mean, he
need.
was like their 4th or 5th guy, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Technically, they would have went through 4 before him before they got to Aiden Hill.
come
Crazy.
on, man. Right.
Yeah.
All right, Billy. Well, we really appreciate you spending all this time with us this morning. We had a good time, even if I screwed up the bobblehead intro.
That's all good, buddy.
I'm used to it, man. Stu's always yelling at me. At least now I
wait,
got it on camera.
Billy, you missed the day we had a skit set up with the Barky bobblehead.
Well, that's why I didn't want to move the bobblehead because
I dropped it and broke the head off and broke his legs. So the skit was going to be funny, but it went down the toilet bowl real quick.
Yeah, that's why I only move you once, Billy, in front of the mic, and then when we're done, I very carefully put you right back here on the shelf. That's it.
But Billy, the Billy Lindsay bobblehead is a fixture now on the podcast. That's how much.
Yeah, he's there every morning with us.
We hold you in high regard. We have you on there every game review.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, boys.
Feel better, man. Feel better.
Yep. All right. And Panther fans, the old Aaron Rodgers there, RELAX. It's okay.
I love it.
Now, remember, everybody, Billy said he's look at the big picture, Lindsay.
Yes. Pay attention. It's 82 games. Do not get wrapped up in small sample sizes. Please do not go down rabbit holes too early.
Well,
all of a sudden, because it can change It just goes. Everything
Yeah.
changed. We saw it
No.
last year.
That's
And we're
true.
we're in a much better spot than last year's.
All right.
Yep.
So go back to that, and we'll see what shakes out the rest of the way.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Billy. We'll talk
Thanks,
to you again
Bill.
soon, bud. Thanks.
All right, take care, guys. All the
Yeah,
best.
you too. Bye.